Hello and welcome back to Cheerless Tuesday, where today's episode we are talking about A Song of Ice and Fire theories. This is specifically for the books, obviously, because Game of Thrones ended in disaster, whilst the books have got at least two more to go. So first things first, we've got Jojen paste. This is the theory that uh, Bran is consuming Jojen Reed to kickstart his green scene abilities. I think this is pretty much 50-50. I'm not really sold on it personally, but I do appreciate that it possibly is happening. The way that it's described in the books, his last couple of chapters when he's actually learning from Bloodraven, it's sort of like he isn't really aware of his physical being, so it could actively be happening. But yeah. Next is Euron assassinated Balon. I think that's pretty much true, to be honest with you. Definitely he's with the House of the Undying site that Danny has about the crow being on the shoulder of a faceless man. I think Euron definitely used a faceless assassin to kill a Balon, but I definitely think it happened. Alaras is Cirilla, pretty much true. Her descriptions are the same as Alaras, Cirilla, Alaras. I mean, running the names that backwards. When them rounding up the sand snakes, uh, I can't remember who it is, but one of them at dawn says that pretty much every single sand snake has been captured, except from Alaras. So, well, Sorella. So I'm pretty sure it's a true thing that Alaras is Sorella. Fagan is a Blackfire. I think that's true. I do think he is the cloth dragon in Danny's dreams. I do think that he is a Blackfire. I don't think he knows that he's a Blackfire. I think Illyro Mapatis knows. But yeah, next is Daenerys' Zora Ahai. I think I'm 50-50 with this. I'm 50-50 with another person, it being as well. John. I'm putting 50-50 on them. I reckon they both am at the same time. I think they're the same side of the same like the different sides of the same coin. Jamie is also I don't think it's possible, and Serpent is that's just a joke. Stannis' night lamp. This is the theory that Stannis is going to draw in the phrase onto the frozen ice using a night lamp in a watchtower because of historical precedent. I think it's possible. It's definitely possible how they defeat the phrase, because how it's described in the Asha chapters. It's quite dire for the forces of Stannis Baratheon. So yeah, John will be resurrected. I'm pretty sure that's true. I don't think I don't think they would have done it in the show if it wasn't a confirmed thing in the books. I do think it'd be a really fun idea if uh, George actually made it the same as Catelyn, how she doesn't have any POV chapters after the resurrection, as if he's lost the light in his eyes, sort of mentality. I do think that'd be quite interesting. John will not be resurrected. I think it's, I think it's not going to be false. I reckon it's a not possible. Um, I mean, it could be possible that he doesn't get resurrected as the same person. That's pretty much a fact already. But I don't think there's a book in the future of the books. I don't think he won't not get resurrected. It could be that the next book he doesn't get resurrected until like the end of the book, sort of thing. That'd be quite interesting. Now we're getting into the pink letter stuff. I think with Barbary Dustin, I think it's pretty 50-50 for me, because I know that the stereotypical question that people ask when they've read the books is, who do you think wrote the pink letter? And my original assumption was that it could be Barbary Dustin, because she seems in the know enough that pretty much 90% of it is like she could understand and she could actually write that down. She's quite knowledgeable, she's quite wily, so I reckon it could have been her, but I do think that it's a very simpler answer to what it was. The doom was caused by the faceless men. Pretty much, I think it's either true or very true. Like, but I'm gonna put it in. I think, yeah, I'm gonna put it in true. I think, although I think the shrouded man is overplaying his hand when telling Arya this. I do think it's pretty much true. It could be that they didn't do it entirely by themselves. It could have been like they they got the slaves to uprise to cause the doom. But yeah. Suriel Farrell is Jack and Agar. I think that's 50-50 personally. I think if George really wanted it so, it's one of those things where he could easily make it so in the books, or he could easily just say no, it isn't like that. Very easily flippable. Um, Grandmeister Conspiracy. I think it's 50-50, simply because although I think although I think that it's possibly true that they destroyed the dragons because they want to have order in the world, I don't think that it has cut and dry as, oh yeah, that over a certain amount of years they went out and started killing all the dragons, or like messing with their genetics to make sure that they grow smaller as the generations go on. I don't think it's that much. I think they just use the opportunity to actually, like, maybe if there was a stronger dragon that they die in nefarious circumstances. But yeah, John is his own father. That's a joke answer. Jamie's the Valancourt. I'm pretty sure that's either true or possible. I'm gonna put it impossible because there is that element of doubt with Tyrion, but I think it'd be more thematical if Cersei turns Jamie into the thing that she was concerned Tyrion was. I think it'd be a lot more interesting as a storyline instead of it just being a angry Tyrion. It's like a Jamie that's finally realised what his sister is. Tyrion is a time travelling fetus? No. White Walkers aren't really evil. I reckon that's really possible, you know. I reckon that they could be just a like an animal type figure, or like a, it could be that the original pact with the humans back in the day was like put against. I think it could be that with Craster not giving over his children, that the pact was broken. So them going further south to get more ranks for their army to put it right. I think that's possible. Um, Great Northern Conspiracy. That's just true. Um, One of my favorite chapters of the entire book is Davos meeting with Lord Manderley for the second time after the original confrontation in the chambers with the phrase. When it's talked down that they're gonna bring back Rickon from Skagos, and them sending Davos to Skagos to get Rickon, it's pretty much true. And with Wyman Manderley going to Winterfell afterwards, and you got the Frey pie and stuff like that. That's just true. Along with Johnny's Rob's there, I think doesn't like three people have Rob's will and send it to Howland Reed, and Howland Reed also has Ned Stark's bones. Like that's such an interesting character for the next book. If Howland Reed isn't like a major character in the next book, I'll eat my hat. It's so interesting, that character, because he knows John's not a bastard, or he's not Ned Stark's bastard. He's like uh, Lyanna and Rhaegar's son. He knows that he's the heir to the North, and he also had Ned Stark's bones, so he actually holds power within the Northern Art. Like, I think those two conspiracies, those two theories, are so hand in hand together. It's actually mental, and Rhaegar and Lyanna is just true. Them two are just massive. I think the three heads of the dragon are definitely going to be Aegon, Daenerys, and Jon. And I think Howland Reed's going to proclaim Jon the king in the north, and he's going to proclaiming a Targaryen king in the north. I honestly do think that's going to happen in the next book. Sweet Robin into Littlefinger's son. I think it's nearly 50-50, but I think it's in the not possible camp. Simply because of John Arryn's the seed is strong crap, and him fathering a lot of stillbirths and a lot of sickly children. It's too possible for Sweet Robin to be the one that actually survives. I think Sweet Robin possibly even lives the next book, to be honest with you. But yeah, next is Sansa is Littlefinger's daughter. I think with that one, I'm just gonna put it in false. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make time sense for it to be true. I think if that's true, that would mean that um Robb Stark is his son. That would mean that Rickon is his son, because they all pretty much look like each other. The only two that don't look like the rest of the family is like Arya and Jon, because they both look like Ned, but the timing just isn't correct with those assumptions. The Bolton Roose Bolton immortal vampire is just false. I think it's just a fun theory to think about, but I don't think it's true at all. House Frey Civil War, that is just absolutely true. It's happening right now. If you read like the political maneuvers that some of the Freys are doing, it's already happening. Like I think it's House Darry. I can't remember what the town is, but them trying to. There's one faction that's using the birthright of this one woman to take over a town. I think it's just happening, but it's happening so slow that it's people are thinking it's there's some sort of master conspiracy, but really, it's just happening. Euron Greyjoy is Dario Naharis. I think that's just true, untrue, false. Sam has the Horn of Winter. Pretty much that's true, but I'm gonna put it impossible. The horn that is given to him by Jon as Ghost digs it up on the fist of the first man. I think Ghost is just being walked by a greater entity. I'm unsure if it's Bloodraven or Bran, but definitely Ghost is directly being walked through to give Jon hints for his life, sort of thing. I think Jon's been hinted by the dog, by the direwolf, to say things that he shouldn't really be saying. But yeah, Southern ambitions, I think it's just true. Um, the fact that the Starks wanted to marry people off suddenly, so they could expand their power within the realm. I think it's just true. I think it's Ned Stark's father who had that ambition, though. I think Barbary Dustin said something about that, about Brendan Stark, how he would have married her if it wasn't for his father's southern ambitions. It's just true. It is just true. John will continue living through a ghost. I think it's already happening. Rhaegar plus um, Joanna is Tyrion. I don't think that's true at all. I think it's just false. That's just people thinking that because Tyrion's like hot-headed, that he's got to be a Targaryen. Everybody's a secret Targaryen. But yeah, poison locusts. I think this is just true. The idea that it's either about just poisoning the locusts to try and kill Daenerys. It's just true. It's said in the books. But if it's about that, there's one of the heads of houses that wanted to kill Balwas using the poison locust because he defeated the champion of Marine. That is also pretty much true. Like, Daenerys said something along the lines of Balwas loves locusts, and him eating all of those, like, it could have been a target for him. But also, I have saw something along the lines of the poison locust wasn't actually poisoned. It's just that you shouldn't be eating that amount of locust. I think that's funny. I think that's also true. So I'm gonna put it in the true category. Robert Strong is the main theme, pretty much true. Clegane Bowl. I think this is very possible. The Gravekeeper is definitely Sandor Clegane. The mountain is still alive, well, undead through Robert Strong. I think the possible thing is that Cersei has a trial by combat against the Faith of the Seven, and the Faith elect the Gravekeeper as their champion, and she elects Robert Strong as her champion. I think that's where the Clegane Ball is actually going to happen. I think in that circumstance, though, Clegane is actually going to win. I think Sandor is just going to beat Robert Strong Mountain. Some was to birth dragons. That's just true. The passage in Fire and Blood, where it's where the Lord Commander Duncan the Tall's on about like it's cut up, so he's speaking like he's writing something down, but it's cut up. It just confirms that it's true. Egg tried to eat fire to turn into a dragon, or potentially open the eggs, and it just didn't happen. Arbor Gold is lies. I reckon it's possible. Um, this is the idea that Arbor Gold is just like it's like a facsimile. It's like imported goods basically. It's possible. Not very effective, but possible. Ned plus Ashara equals John. I don't think that's possible. I don't think it's false because it's possible. Like, it's kind of possible, but I think Rhaegar plus Lyanna is too much compelling evidence that it's true that Ned and Ashara. I think Ned and Ashara definitely did happen at Summerhall, not Summerhall. At Harrenhal, Ned and Ashara definitely did hook up, but I don't think that they had a child, or if they did, it's Ned, um, Dane or whatever his name is. It could be him, but I don't think so. Tyrion is the Valancourt. I think I'm gonna put it in not possible. I still think that it makes too much sense for Jaime to be the Valancourt. Daenerys will get mad. I think it's pretty much true. I think all of the elements of Game of Thrones, the last three series maybe, are actually going to be true. It's just that I think it's just going to be a tiny bit better in terms of like better executed, better characterization, better thematical elements to the story, better dialogue, better everything. But I do think Daenerys is going to get mad in some certain aspect, and I do think that she'll nuke King's Landing eventually. Quentin Martell, he's alive. I think it's 50-50 along with George and Pace, a lot of these, where I think George could flip it either way. Hope not, because I thought Quentin Martell's POV chapters were some of the worst chapters in the entire series, because it's just Tyrion's story eastward, but worse. Basically, there was pretty much nothing in that story of Quentin Martell where I was compelled what I was reading. Ramsay castrated Theon, pretty much true. Theon's a very he was just played around with Ramsay. I reckon it's true. Sam is the main character. Well, he is George's fill-in, but I don't think he's the main character. I just think that George won't ever do anything with him in terms of murdering him, or I think he'll have, if one character's to have a good ending, it'll be Sam, because George won't be able to do anything bad against him. Mance Rayder wrote the pink letter. I think that's just the true one. Although I wish it was somebody more interesting, I do think that it's just Mance. The writing style didn't fit Roose or Ramsay Bolton. The the knowledge that the letter had, the way that it was written, is just pointing directly at Mance Rayder. I think he probably wanted to force Jon to come south to break his oath to kill him. It's possible. But I also have a slight theory as well. Here's an interesting one. I reckon it might have been edited. I reckon it might have been intercepted by, I can't remember what his name is, but the guy who's currently in charge of the crows at the wall. I reckon it might have been intercepted by one of those, edited, and then given to Jon. It could have happened like that, but I definitely do think that the original pink letter was written by Mance Rayder. Daenerys is a fire white. She hasn't died yet, so well, it could. If you're on about the pyre in the first book, there's precedent that after somebody becomes a fire white, they lose the POV chapter, as in with Catelyn Stark, and she didn't lose a POV after the bonfire, so it's possible that she was resurrected. I don't think the Targaryens are impervious to flame as they are in the books, in the show. I think that's just stupid in the show. But yeah, I don't think that's true. Song of Ice and Fire is sci-fi post-apocalypse. There is no magic. I mean, I'm not going to put it in false, because obviously you could say that about like a lot of franchises, that it's just post-apocalyptic. But I think it'd be very bad storytelling if at the end of the A Dream of Spring, that the last page is, oh yeah, this is because of nuclear apocalypse on Earth. That'd be so boring. New Aegon is legit. I think I'm gonna put it on the opposite side as Fagan is a Blackfire. New Aegon is legit. I think it's possible, but I don't think it'd be interesting if it was just somebody, like if it was Rhaegar's son that just managed to escape. I don't think it makes that much sense. I think it makes more sense if he was actually a paper dragon. Rob was given a love potion. I reckon that's more true than people actually give you credit for, you know. Because don't you find it funny how, what's her name? The Westerlings was given such an easy time after the past judgment about it, that them sending them south to like pay for their crimes, but reality, like it's such a slap on the wrist for dissent. Like, obviously, it isn't Tywin who's passing up the judgment, but realistically, if you was trying to put a message down that you shouldn't revolt against the crown, you wouldn't just go, "Oh yeah, you have to pay this much. Oh yeah, and your daughter can't wed for a couple of years." It just doesn't make sense. It makes too much sense that she was told to go and like they were given a look like they were given direct orders from the crown, from Tywin, to like infiltrate the northern like army and get their daughter to encourage their daughter to go on and marry Robb Stark. I think it just makes too much sense. Joffrey had a food allergy. I mean, it's possible. I mean, it's kind of like, I know it's a meme, and I do think that he was poisoned, but he could have had a food allergy. Who's to know? Ned Stark lives as a pigeon, and isn't the rest of the theory an Arya killed him but to eat? Yeah, no. I think Stark's. Isn't there a thing where it's like Brandon was told by somebody that Starks can walk into dire wolves because they have more of a connection to them than any other creature? Yeah, I don't think he has any connections to pigeons, do you? Robb walked into Greywind, however, he's pretty much true. Unfortunately, he died twice. Once when he was killed in the Red Wedding, twice when they went out and killed Greywind. Varys is a Blackfire. I think it's 50-50. Um, for him to have no connection to Westeros, it doesn't make sense that he'd just do it for power when he's just saying that he wants to make the realm better. It doesn't make sense that he's just a rando from Essos. It makes more sense if he was actually some kind of force that was actually had like some connection to the realm. It's possible that he was part of the Golden Company in some aspect as well. But I think it makes more sense if he was a Blackfire. Olenna poisoned Joffrey. It happened in the books like this. In the show like this. I mean, I think it's 50-50. The edging on possible. I do think that she had something to do with it. She didn't want her granddaughter to marry a monster sort of mentality. It's possible. But I do think there is a different element that I'm actually going to drop that into 50-50. Bloodraven wants to take Bran's body. I think that's just true. Although he is crippled, I do think that Bloodraven wants to live forever so he can completely take over the world in terms of being an indefinite, uh, strong influence in the world, and he can only do it via a different person's body. That's very possible. And if you can walk into animals and Bran can walk into Hodor, why can't a guy that's been on this bloody weirwood tree for literally decades not be able to tap into a boy's body? It just makes too much sense, really. Ramsay Snow wrote the pink letter. I, I think that's even false, you know. I don't think it's Ramsay at all, simply because the way that the letter is described, there's like three letters in the book, and the first two are described so perfectly that the third one, being Ramsay Snow, is just not true. It can't be true because of the way that it was wrote, because the actual the way that it was the way that it was ended, the way that the words that was being said was like not the same. I don't think it's true at all. Tyrion poisoned Joffrey. I think that's just false. Although he had means and although he had um, reason to do so, I just don't think he would poison because Tyrion's all about family strength, and I don't think he would have done something like that to weaken their position on the throne. Although Tyrion at that time didn't like most of his family, I don't think he'd be that much against them to actually start killing any of them. Cersei didn't poison her son. Joffrey poisoned himself. I'm going to put that on the same level as Joffrey has food allergy. It's possible that he could have killed himself, but it doesn't make that much sense. Um, Poisoning Joffrey was a group effort. I think that's pretty much confirmed. I do think that there was multiple elements of people that wanted him dead, so why not have all of them be involved? A Song of Ice and Fire is set in the Lovecraftian universe. As somebody who's been reading Lovecraft recently, the majority of the underwater stuff that George has in his books are pretty much ripped from the pages of H.P. Lovecraft. The upcoming Leviathan figure that Euron's trying to bring out of the depths with the Battle of Blood is straight out of Lovecraft. That's literally Cthulhu that he's trying to pick out of the ocean. Robert Strong as James and making him the Valancourt. That's a funny one. I think it's not as bad as false, but I think I'm gonna just put it in not possible. It could be that he's got his hand. I don't see the reason why he's got his hand, but um, yeah, I don't think that's gonna be true. There's no reason for Robert Strong to kill Cersei at all, unless he was directed by what's his face I can't remember his name. Unless he was directed by his master, I don't think those. Rhaegar's alive, unfortunately not. Tormund Giantbane, Tormund Giantsbane, ex Mage Mormont. I think that's 50-50, you know. The fact that Mage Mormont walks into bears at night when he sleeps, and that she accidentally had sexual relations a with a wildling beyond the wall. That is shockingly 50-50. The Mormons have the blood of the first men. The Mormons have they probably have a lineage with other warg ability families like like the Starks, the what's it called? Oh, what they're called? Anyway, they've probably got warg abilities, and with them having the sigil of the bear, I can see it happening. Joffrey and Tommen are legit. No, Starks. They're almost there should always be a Stark in Winterfell. I think that's just true. The the theory is that like there's some sort of ancient protection curse on Winterfell, and it only affects when the Starks are in charge, sort of thing. So like the idea is that nothing bad can happen within the Starks within Winterfell. Oh yeah, and there's the crypts are gonna come alive sort of thing. Yeah, I think that's just true. Stannis wrote the pink letter. That's probably the worst one. He hasn't got all the information. He wouldn't do that. I think it's got more possibility that it was Melisandre, but yeah, I don't think that's true at all. Ned and Cersei Lannister? No. Yeah, anything. I'm just gonna put everything except from Ned and Ashara for John. He's just underneath. Ned and Catelyn Tully. No. No. That is just not true. Jorah is a hide. No. Euron is a fraud. I reckon that's very possible. You know. I reckon that the dragon binder thing, the horn of the dragons that he gave to um Victorian is just bollocks, you know. I reckon it's just a thing to get Victorian out of his hair so he can do the bloody Battle of Blood, because that's his true aim, to get Cthulhu out the water to help him defeat his enemies. I reckon that's true, but with all this like eldritch sort of mentality, and his intimidation tactics are just like, oh yeah, I'm gonna murder you or I'm gonna torture you. I think that's very possible. Lemon Gate, 50-50. The Lemon Gate is that Daenerys dreams of a house with a red door that has a tree with lemons growing outside, and she thinks that this is Bravos. And Bravos is a temperate climate that lemons can't grow there. Um, it it's um it's possibly true, but I do understand that areas within the world can be hot and cold in different years, so it's possible that the lemons was brought up or the tree was like conjured up or something like that. It's possibly true, but I also have a conspiracy theory regarding the fact that I can't remember what his name is, but when them brought over to Essos, that guy who brings them over, the big burly bloke with the big belly, he gets ill, and the reasoning why them so poor and them having to go cap in hand to everybody in Essos is because he went into a hospital with a red door, and that's why she has fond memories, because that was the only person in her childhood that she had a positive relationship to, and her last memories of him was in this hospital. And the reason why them so poor is because they were paying for his medical bills, and outside of this facility they have lemons and they use it as a disinfectant. I reckon that's true, and I reckon if that's also true, it has to be true that it isn't in Bravos that she's remembering. It's that them in Lease, I think it is, which is a lot more southern and a lot more able to actually grow lemons. So that's my theory for this video. Rob walked into Catlin, no. Roose Bolton is Rat Cook, no. Redwood in 2.0. It makes too much sense for George to just copy and paste his own writing. He likes to do it a lot. I don't see why he wouldn't do that. I don't see why Catlin couldn't orchestrate some sort of Red Wedding 2.0 with the amount of phrase that I'm going to be married in the next book, because they've got pacts with other houses to get married to them and mingle. Varys is a merman? No. Urine is a former student of Bloodraven. Isn't his sigil a red eye? Like a bird with a third eye or something like that. I think that's pretty much true, really. Lyanna Stark was the Knight of the Laughing Tree, that's just true. Um Howland's Children talks about the Knight of the Laughing Tree, and they say it in a way that's like implied that it's Lyanna. So yeah, I think it's true. Florence rigged Renly's armor to kill him. No. I'm gonna fast forward to Loris isn't that hurt. That's true. I don't think Loris Tyrell is hurt at all. If he's hurt, it's minor enough to not kill him. I think Loris is just MIA because of his sister being up for trial. That he wants to be like a surprise figure that could come out and help her in like a trial by combat sort of situation. I don't think he's dead at all. I don't even think he's hurt personally. Um, Tyrion was the target of the Purple Wedding. I reckon that's possible to 50-50. I'm going to put it at the top end of 50-50. Tyrion, I reckon the plan was Littlefinger wanted to kill Tyrion so we could whisk away Sansa at an easier way, and that the plan was for Sir Dontos to pick up Sansa after Tyrion died. So Littlefinger had a free range of marrying her off or marrying her to himself. Yeah, I think that's a lot more possible than the other conspiracies about different people killing Joffrey. Manslaughter is Arthur Dane. I just don't think it would work. I think that's Aerys and Joanna is Jamie and Cersei. I think it just doesn't make sense for I know Aerys had a lot of desire for Joanna, and that he might have actually done something improper towards her, but I think it doesn't make sense for those two characters to be surprise Targaryens. Warben's Raven is being squalled, skin changed. It's true. It just is. With it screaming Johnny's king and stuff like that, it just can't not be true. Untommen, it's not impossible, but it's unlikely. The thing is that Tommen's gonna die in some way, and that I can't remember his name still. That the guy who did Robert Strong is gonna do the same to Tommen to keep him alive for Cersei. It's possible. The next one is Varys plus Illyrio is Fagon. No, Varys isn't a female. No, Illyrio Mopatis isn't female. The main thing is a good guy falls. Frey Pies, it's just true. And Brynden Rivers is the three-eyed raven. Now, here's the interesting thing. It's 50-50 between Brynden Rivers, aka the guy at the wall, Blood Raven, or it could be that it's Brandon Stark going through history and trying to. I reckon that the animals that are being walked, Ghost and the three-eyed raven, for Brandon's own things. I reckon that's a super upped Brandon in the future, going back into the past and influencing events to make sure that they go accordingly, to make sure that they defeat the White Walker threat. I don't think I don't think that it's anybody other than them two. It's either Brynden Rivers or Brandon Stark. But yeah, I reckon it's 50-50 on that. I know it's cut and dry in the show that it is Brynden, aka the Blood Raven, aka the Three-Eyed Crow. But I think it's a lot more. It isn't as cut and dry as it is in the show. And with that, that is the end of Tier List Tuesday for the Song of Ice and Fire theories. Let's just have a quick look through. Yeah, I think everything looks fine. And with that, thank you all so much for watching. This has been quite an interesting one. That it isn't a topic that I get to talk about really, because I don't have anybody close to me that's read the same books. But yeah, thanks you all so much for watching. It's been important for me to get off my chest. Thank you all so much for watching. Please subscribe, please like, and goodbye.